Hi everyone, I'm Noel.
And I am Ruth.
Welcome to Story Reviews. In Story Reviews, we review the best stories that we come across. We do this because we encourage everyone to read books.
That's right. With reading books, we'll never know what its message will be for us. And reading books can also be fun.
Today, we're going to review the short story Ward 6 by one of the best writers in history, Anton Chekhov.
And just to give you a brief background about the writer, Anton Chekhov is a Russian playwright and short story writer. He is considered to be one of the greatest writers of short fiction in history.
All right, so the story of Ward 6 is set inside a mental health institution in Russia. The heart of the story revolves around two main characters, Dr. Ragin, who is a doctor inside the insane asylum, and Mr. Gromov, who is a patient inside this mental health institution. Dr. Ragin has lost all hope in life. He experienced burnout because of his everyday work, and he became callous about life. He became insensitive. He stopped caring. He lost all of his standards in life. He thinks that because everyone is going to die someday, we should not care anymore, and he stopped caring about everything, and nothing about life matters to him anymore. And he thinks that people should not have emotions anymore because everyone's going to die anyway, so you should not care about anything and nothing matters.
Mhm.
This kind of philosophy in life is something that's also present in our generation. There's this, I think there's this book, the art of not giving a the subtle art of not giving a fuck,
Mm-mm.
right? So
Mhm.
there's this in our culture today. There are people who say that we should be callous and we should protect ourselves by not having emotions. We should
Mhm.
be guarded with our emotions because having emotions is considered weak. So
Mhm.
even in our generation today, we have this philosophy where we should not care, we should not be emotional, and we should stop caring about anything. So yeah,
Mhm.
in contrast, Mr. Gromov, who is a patient inside this mental health institution, has not lost hope in life. In contrast, even though he's the one inside prison, he is full of emotions. He still believes in living life. He believes in God, and he's still hopeful about life. He thinks that even though the society is full of injustice and suffering, one day there will be justice and everything will be okay. So the
Mhm.
story revolves around these two main characters, and they talk about the topics of what life is all about and also the very serious issue of mental health.
I agree with that. Especially now in our times, emotions are invalidated by most of the people, but this book gave us on how we should value it, we should acknowledge it because it affects all our lives. So that's right, Noel. Well, looking at life, this really happens to a lot of people. We may or may not experience it personally, but at some point in our lives, we've seen how evident that situation is in our daily lives. So we'll let you know more about our personal insights in a while. But for now, let us give you a short introduction to the characters involved in the story. So we'll start first with Dr. Ragin. And Dr. Ragin here is the protagonist of the story. He is the chief doctor at ward number 6, or in this mental asylum that we are talking about in this story. This is a provincial mental health hospital, and he is a compassionate and dedicated doctor as well. Also an intelligent one. Next is Ivan Dmitrich Gromov, or known to be called as Mr. Gromov in the story, a highly intelligent patient in ward number 6, and he used to be a court bailiff, and he experiences persecution mania, and that is like a mental case here discussed in this story. And he formed a close bond with Dr. Agin, and he challenges him with his views on sanity and madness. And next for me is Nikita. Nikita, she is or he is an orderly in ward number 6 and assists Dr. Ragin in his duties at the hospital. And Nikita is an important character in this story as she shows her attitude towards the patient. Sir Noel, Noel?
Yeah, really have some very interesting characters in this story, Ruth. Other characters include the house attendant of Dr. Ragin and also Mikhail Averianch, an intelligent postmaster who is very close with Dr. Ragin. And this postmaster is the only person who Dr. Ragin talked with or
Mm-hmm.
talked to before Dr. Ragin met Mr. Gromov. And finally, we have Yevgeny Kobatov or Dr. Kobatov. He was assigned as an assistant of Dr. Ragin. Dr. Kobatov visits the hospital twice a week and makes rounds of the ward and receives outpatient. Dr. Kobatov is the junior associate of Dr. Ragin inside the mental health institution.
Okay, so that's it for the characters discussed here in the story. There are more characters here, but those are just some of the important characters that we discussed and familiar names that you will be reading as you go through this book. So, since we already know the important characters in this story, let us go through the story quickly and know what really happened in ward number 6. Why is it even entitled as Ward
Yeah.
Number 6. So here, the story revolves around the lives of the patients and staff in the mental asylum. The writer started off by clearly describing the asylum as an old one and looked like it was not well taken care of. As you can see, our background also represents the mental asylum that we are talking about in this story. It somehow looks like this, not really clean, and not really well taken care of. So,
Yeah.
one of the patients, Ivan Gromov, is an intelligent person who was committed to the asylum after experiencing a series of calamities in his life. Despite his intelligence, Gromov is confined to the ward alongside other patients with severe mental health issues. Next will be Dr. Ragin, on the other hand, goes through the same routine every day and does not seem to observe much of what is happening in the asylum, specifically in ward number 6, where Nikita responds by beating up patients who do not listen to their orders. Dr. Ragin thinks that people around him are not as intelligent as him, as they do not see or discuss life just like how he would perceive it. And then one day, he strikes up a friendship with Gromov and engages in, philosophical discussions about the nature of existence and the meaning of life. Again, Gromov is a patient in ward number 6. Eventually, the workers in the asylum started to notice that Dr. Ragin was always going to ward number 6 until one day um until one day Dr. Gromov, who was doing his rounds, heard the conversation of Gromov and Dr. Ragin. And Nikita was also there. They simply thought that Dr. Ragin's mental state was not okay since he was talking to a lot of sensible things with the patient. What a mindset, right, Noel? Just
Yes.
seeing the
Yeah.
friend talking to another friend, right? So,
Yeah.
yes, as the story progresses, Dr. Ragin becomes increasingly delusioned with the hypocrisy and corruption of the society outside the asylum walls, and he starts to question his own sanity and the meaning of his work, feeling trapped in a system that he once believed in until Dr. Ragin himself is confined to ward number 6, becoming just another patient in the institution he once ran. He experienced all the things that the patients went through for years, like not being allowed to go out of the asylum, just staying up in one room, to being beaten up by Nikita. until he was found dead inside the asylum due to a heart condition triggered by what happened to him inside the asylum. So that's it for the plot. A lot of things really happened, and it's really hard to process on what happened to Dr. Ragin himself.
Yeah, that was a really sad story, Ruth. Yeah, just very
Mm-hmm.
sad about what happened to Dr. Ragin. So yeah, so this story was a really sad story, but I do think that Anton Chekhov was very courageous for writing
Mm-hmm.
this story because mental health is a very serious issue. You know, we don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, but it's a very serious issue. And of course, everyone always talks about and wonders what is the meaning of life, what is humanity all about. But we
Mm-hmm.
don't discuss it every day, right? So I think Anton
Mm-hmm.
Chekhov was very courageous for discussing these two topics of life, meaning of life, and also mental health. I do like the build up of the story. I think the characters are very well developed. At the start of the story, the the writer didn't exactly go to our main characters right away. We
Mm-hmm.
first He first described the mental health institution a lot, and then he went through each of the patients.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the patients that are talked about at the beginning of the story are not talked about in the other parts of the story anymore, right? But it just gives you
Mm-hmm.
the setting of who are these mental health patients who are inside the asylum, and one of
Mm-hmm.
them is the Jew, is this Jewish patient who is allowed to go outside of the mental health asylum, is allowed to go on walks, and is
Mm-hmm.
able to collect some donations and some food, and then he goes back to the mental health asylum to distribute them to the other patients. But sometimes even the male nurse Nikita, confiscates them,
Mm-hmm.
and then we
Mm-hmm.
see the realities inside the mental health institution, where Nikita beats up the mental
Mm-hmm.
health patients. So that's really sad because the mental health institution is supposed to help patients, and yet here
Mm-hmm.
we see that the male nurse beats them up. Does this happen to mental health institutions right now? Right? Is there physical abuse, or is there abuse of power on the part of mental health officials and wardens? So we don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but most probably there is abuse, right? So these are things that it was a good introduction on what a mental health asylum is.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the part where where the story of Mr. Gromov was discussed, and how he became mentally ill. Because his story was that his father was indebted and
Mm-hmm.
was heavily in debt. And when his father died, the government took all of their properties away, because Mr. Gromov's family used to be rich, but
Mm-hmm.
then the government took away all of their properties. But even after that happened, Mr. Gromov was functioning normally. He was a bailiff in court. He had a job. He was a teacher. He was collecting court decisions, enforcing court decisions. He was a teacher, so he was functioning normally. And then one day, it was not explained why he became mentally ill,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it was due to all of the calamities in his life, because his fam even he lost his dad, and his they lost all of their properties. But just one day, all of a sudden, he started to become afraid. I
Mm-hmm.
like the description of the author's description of how Mr. Gromov became mentally ill, how he started fearing everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there were people who were supposed to fix the sink in the bathroom or the kitchen, and then he
Mm-hmm.
thought that they were policemen who are out to get him, even though
Mm-hmm.
he didn't commit any crime. And
Mm-hmm.
when there was a murder in their town, he was afraid that he was going to be accused of the murder, even though he had nothing to do with that. He
Mm-hmm.
had this unreasonable fear constantly. Like he had these fears that someone was out to get him. And this is very relevant today, because I have some friends who are schizophrenic, and when they talk to me, they tell me about they talk to me about a similar experience. They're very afraid of
Mm-hmm.
different things. They're afraid that someone will shoot them when they go out to the streets, or that everyone is talking badly against them. They
Mm-hmm.
feel that they are alone against the world. So many schizophrenic persons have that experience of feeling
Mm-hmm.
afraid about everything. So I liked how the author described that. I think Anton Chekhov was familiar about uh, what schizophrenia is, or the experience of that mental illness, about being unreasonably afraid of everything. And I
Mhm.
like how he explained how that can happen to anyone,
Mhm.
because Mr. Gromov is an intellectual. He's a very intelligent person. He went to college, although he didn't
Mhm.
finish college because of financial trouble, but he went to college. He's very smart. You wouldn't expect this to happen to him. He's a very intelligent person, and yet all of a sudden it happened to him. So the message
Mhm.
also is that it can happen to anyone. So I like how the author discuss mental health, approach mental health. And of course, I like the discussions between Dr. Ragin and Mr. Gromov. We saw
Mhm.
the contrast, right? Like we saw the difference between them. We saw how Dr. Ragin used to be idealistic, and
Mhm.
he used to go to the hospital a lot, right? There was a description there how he would even like treat hundreds of patients in a single day. But then he started to despise and hate the system, because no matter how many patients he treats every day, there are so many hundreds more that arrive every single day. He just got
Mhm.
burned out, and at this he just got burned out and he thought that nothing else can change. He stopped going to the hospital that much. He abused his power by, he would wake up late, right? And he would
Mhm.
just stay at home. He would only go for a few, maybe 2 hours in the hospital, then come back home again and just talk philosophy with anyone.
Mhm.
He had the power to make changes, but he was described as being shy, and he didn't want to use that power to make some changes. He
Mhm.
didn't he didn't care to know what the situation or conditions of his patients were inside the asylum, even though they were being beaten up. And he just lost all his hope in life. He lost his humanity. He became so emotionless, and he thinks that because we're all gonna die anyway, why care? We
Mhm.
should stop caring. Like, don't care about anything anymore. And I had that philosophy is still relevant today. I had years ago I had a Bible study where we were discussing what's your biggest fear. And I think one of the
Mhm.
biggest fears that was discussed was that we should be afraid when we stop caring, when we could become numb and stop caring. So I think so yeah, that's very relevant right now. A lot of people are advocating for that kind of approach to life, that you should not care, because a lot of bad things happen to us, and the
Mhm.
only way to guard yourself against negative emotions is to put all of these walls, right? Like, you should not feel anger, you should not feel disappointment, you should not
Mhm.
be too happy, you should not be feel too sad, because if you have these emotions you will be weak. And that's why people advocate nowadays, people advocate for building these walls. Or when someone ghosts you, you will be so depressed, right? So people are saying you shouldn't have any of these emotions. You should be tough. You should be like, just like Dr. Ragin, who doesn't care about life. But the problem with that approach in life is you're gonna lose your humanity.
Mhm.
So that's the problem with that. And in contrast, we see Mr. Gromov. He's the one in jail. He's the one inside the mental health institution, imprisoned. He can't go out, but he's still full of life. He says that being human is all about experiencing your emotions and having these high standards in life. When something bad happens to you, you should cry. Or when something
Mhm.
is if there is something that's happening that's not just, you should feel injustice and you should be angry about it. If something sad happens to you, you should be sad.
Mhm.
Because human beings are supposed to live a good life.
Mhm.
I like I do believe in his philosophy that God created life to be beautiful. It's supposed to be beautiful, but beings mess it up. And we should
Mhm.
have these high standards in life. There is supposed to be justice. There is supposed to be love. The nurse Nikita is not supposed to beat them up. Every time the nurse Nikita beats them up, they should feel sad. They should feel angry. But for Dr. Ragin is saying, even if you have terrible conditions inside the asylum, you should be okay with it because we're all gonna
Mhm.
die anyway. But for Mr. Gromov, we should still care because what matters is now. What matters is now. he still believes that life should be meaningful. Life has meaning.
Mhm.
Life is supposed to be just. Life is supposed to be beautiful. We shouldn't be beaten up by this nurse. We should be free. And
Mhm.
at the same time, he's so even though he was the one inside the prison, he kept his humanity, and he was still hopeful for the future, that in the future his grandchildren, will see the day when all of this injustice will go away. Whereas, so it's just very ironic that it was Mr. Gromov, the mental health patient, who still had hope and who
Mhm.
still
Mhm.
believed in the meaning of life and that life should be beautiful, and he hasn't lost his humanity. But it was Dr. Ragin who was outside, and had all
Mhm.
of this power. He was the one who lost his humanity. So I like the discussion, and all of that back and forth discussion, and how they explained what's important in life. So what about you,
Mhm.
Ruth? What do you think of the story?
Well, that's a lot of input that you mentioned, Noel, and I just want to mention again about how people neglects the emotion, just like Dr. Ragin thinking that, oh, we're all gonna die anyway, so why are you gonna feel this way? Just
Yeah,
accept it. In the end, we're just gonna feel nothing. We're just gonna end up in the same thing.
yeah,
But with the girl with Gromov, it's nice that he had those nice perspective, and you said it was really ironic for the patient and the one in the asylum was
yeah,
the one who said that. So I really agree with that. Also with the ones with Anton Chekhov, how he wrote this story with how he was knowledgeable about mental health states or mental health issues. That's how you mentioned also with your friend who was experiencing schizophrenia. I agree with what you said that not um, I agree with what you said that we don't know the cause of some mental health issues that experienced by other people. Sometimes it just attacks you. Sometimes it just comes because of what you're going through. Because some people are not thinking about their emotions just because they're neglecting. The more you hide, well, people say the more you hide your feelings, the more you hide your emotions, the more you experience harder things in life.
yeah,
You will feel something different. It's more harder for you to handle if you just keep it all inside. So right now I hear people say that you should let it all out when you feel sad, just like what you said, just cry it out. Do you will
yeah,
feel better? You
yeah,
will be able to think better, right?
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
Noel. When you have problems, you just talk to other people, let it out. You're angry, just go and
yeah,
share it
yeah.
out,
Great.
right? So
Yeah,
that's right. So it's nice that people have those kind of advocacies now,
yeah,
not invalidating one's feelings. So
yeah.
that's
Great.
great. Those are great insights as well. So now,
Yeah, that's a
going
great
back,
insight, Ruth. What do you think of the
yes,
ending of the story?
with the ending of this story and how the story went through.
Yeah,
Well, as a person who doesn't like reading so much, this is the first time I was able to read a short story, and I'm impressed a lot. It took me a day or almost a week to process it, and it was well written. It gives us a nice message on how to view life better, and I agree with all the things that you said, as I mentioned a while ago. And we see that some characters get overly stressed or anxious about things which result in unforeseen situations on their mental health. Seeing that it also happens to us until now. Also, the death and injustice were so evident in the story, and it's just sad to think that it happens to us in real life. It also shows us stereotypes back then when it comes to patients from the ward. So,
yeah.
yes, how
It's
about yeah.
very interesting. It's very good insights from you, Ruth. And I was also the ending was of the story was really sad because Dr. Ragin
Mhm.
in the end was confined inside Ward 6,
Yes.
right? And
Mhm.
uh he's not really insane, right? I mean,
Yes.
there was nothing. I mean, did he do anything that showed that he was insane,
No, he
right?
was just simply talking to the patient who was in the asylum. He
Yeah.
was
So
having a great conversation in
yes,
exchange.
so he was innocent, but then
Mm-hmm.
just because he was talking to a mental health patient, everyone thought that he was crazy and
Mm-hmm.
locked him up. So that was an injustice, and it just shows you how society is ignorant and naive and doesn't know anything about mental health. and
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
try to understand what mental health is. And it so it just shows, because it's still the same thing right now, when
Mhm.
we still, I think society right now still isn't that informed about mental health. What do you
Mhm,
think?
mhm.
What do you think is, how does society right now look at mental health?
With the young people,
Yeah,
like in my generation right
yeah,
now, I see that they are more acknowledging mental health issues, which is nice.
good.
A
Yeah,
lot of people are advocating it. School organizations, small groups are really entertaining people who experiences having a hard time to process their emotions. But with other generations, like older people or
older.
higher, yeah, I think they have a different perspective in life. That's what you mentioned. You should be tough. You should face things stronger. Well, it's also right to face things stronger, your problems stronger, or but neglecting your emotions is kind of hard, and it makes really things really hard. So, how about you, Noel?
Yeah, yeah.
Your
So
observations also.
yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think the younger generation are very aware about mental health
Mm-hmm.
issues, but the older generation are very dismissive about mental health issues.
Yes.
Like, when the older people, they always whenever young people bring up mental health issues, the older people will say, "Oh, we didn't have mental health issues during our
Yes.
time."
Yes. Yeah.
And they'll be very dismissive, and they'll call all of us weak and all that.
Yes, yes.
But that's a problem, because they don't know that, the people in their generation, they must had mental health issues too, and because it wasn't brought up in out in the open, they just suffered silently.
Mhm.
But at what's good now is that we already acknowledge that these mental health issues exist, and we
Mhm.
have to talk about them and not be
Mhm.
judged about them. And there should be a safe space. I mean, that's what the psychologists
Yes.
call it, like a safe place for everyone to
Yes.
discuss mental health issues. Yeah,
I agree with that. Before I heard that people are scared also of going to psychologists or psychiatrists.
yeah,
When they hear that word, it's like offensive already, telling that you are crazy. You have a
yeah,
problem in your
right,
mind, right?
yeah,
But right now, I see that people are being open to it, which is good,
yeah,
that when we say we go to those kinds of or those people who are expert on it, it means you just need help to process it. It doesn't mean you are crazy. It doesn't mean
yeah, yeah. That's
you
right.
have some mental health issues. Sometimes some people just need someone to talk to, someone to help them process it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I agree.
Okay, so now let's go to our favorite scenes this time. Okay, so for you, Noel, what are the top two or three favorite scenes in this story, and how did you feel about it? We talked about a lot of things in the story already, but there are some points or scenes in the story that made an impact to us also. So,
All
would you
right.
like to share it also?
Yeah, yeah. So I have two favorite scenes. So the first one was when the story was describing Mr. Gromov and
Mm-hmm.
how he loved to read books, but he was very disappointed with what was happening in society. So I know that a lot of people are very disappointed with what's happening in society, but they just don't speak up about it. I
Mm-hmm.
think Mr. Gromov's complaint was that nobody wanted to discuss what was happening in society and what's the meaning of life, because in general, even now, most people just want to have fun without,
Mm-hmm.
going through, hey, what are the problems of society? How can we fix the problems of society? What's our culture? What's the meaning of life? How should we live our lives? How should we
Mhm.
improve our lives? So that's the description about him, and how he didn't like society because the rest of society was very naive, or um, didn't go through talk about these things,
Mhm.
was is very real. And so this is some there's a quote that I'm gonna quote a part of the book which said that. So this whatever so this is what is said in the book. Whatever you talk to him about, so this is about Mr. Gromov, he always turned the conversation to one and the same subject. Life in this town was stifling and boring. Society had no higher interests. It led a dull and senseless existence, veering between violence, coarse debauchery, and hypocrisy. Scoundrels were well fed and clothed, while honest men had to be satisfied with a few crumbs. Which is true. I mean, let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest. That was true back then, but it's still true right now. We still have politicians who are corrupt. We still have a lot of poverty. You know, there's so much violence, and people like just like gossip, but we don't want to think about what can we do to improve our situation, what can we do to improve our society, so and then the
Mm-hmm.
quote continues. um what he wanted was schools, a local newspaper with an honest political program, a theater, public readings, solidarity among all intellectual forces. It was necessary that society should become aware of its own shortcomings and be horrified by them. So I like that part of the story. And then, of course, another great scene that I liked was during the back and forth discussions between Dr. Ragin and Mr. Gromov. So I like the part where Dr. Ragin was insisting that we should not care about anything anymore because we're all gonna die someday. So you should not have emotions, even though you're inside inside the mental health asylum. You should not be sad. So that was what Dr. Ragin was saying. You should not feel any emotion anymore. Just stop caring.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing matters. And then this was the response of Mr. Gromov, which I really like. So this is the quote. All I know, so Mr. Gromov said, all I know is that God created me of warm blood and nerves. Yes, sir. And organic tissue. If it's live tissue, must react to every kind of situation. And I do react. I respond to pain with tears and cries, to baseness with indignation, to abomination with disgust. To my mind, that is really what is called life. So I like that part. And then he said, or else if you don't do this, if you don't have these emotions, or else you have become so hardened by suffering as to have lost all susceptibility to it, or in other words, to have ceased to live. So I like that quote. He's saying that humanity is about having these standards of what human existence should be. There
Mm-hmm.
should be justice. We deserve to be fed well. We deserve good things in life. We deserve love. We deserve justice, and we should have emotions. And just
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to live, to express your emotions. And the moment that you stop having standards, the moment that you become callous, and the moment you stop feeling anything, and the moment you stop caring about anything, then you have stopped living.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I really like those parts. What about you, Ruth? What are your some of your what's your favorite scene in this story?
Okay, so for me, it's just one, and that is related to what you mentioned also about faith and God, how they perceived it. So this was the scene where Dr. Ragin and Gromov were having a talk. Gromov insists that Dr. Ragin does not understand what they are going through, and so he said, "What do gentlemen like you and your assistant Nikita care for in the future? But you can rest assured, sir, that better times will come. I may be expressing myself vulgarly. You may laugh at me, but a new life will dawn one day, and justice will triumph, and we too will have something to celebrate. I may not live to see it. I shall have kicked the bucket by then, but someone's great grandchildren will see it. I salute them with all my heart, and I rejoice for them. Forward, may God help you, friends." So that's what um Gromov was trying to say to Dr. Ragin. And I think we talked about this earlier about their exchange on how they perceive life. So this line and flow of conversation made Dr. Ragin feel more interested in talking to Gromov, considering that they were going through a hard time already. It was amazing to think that Gromov still thought of this,
Yeah,
considering that they are in the asylum, covered in the they're just in the four walls of the room,
yeah,
not allowed to go out. But still, he has the faith. He had he had this good perspective in life in the future.
Yeah.
There were no people who gave them justice for what was going through every day in the asylum, but Gromov believed that one day there will be, and it will all be worth it for them. Also, when I read this, it gave me also a realization that I should see life struggle as temporary also. Also, in the Bible, or yeah, in the Bible, it also says that God will not give you something that you can't handle, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he will he will give you something that you can just go out and reach to him. So yes, I believe in that with my faith. So in faith, the struggles will just be here on earth, and everything will be better for us after life.
Yeah, that's very inspiring, Ruth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
So
right.
yes.
Now we
Mm-hmm.
go to the characters of this story. Who are your, like, do you have a who's your favorite character in this story, Ruth, and who's also your least favorite character?
Okay, so first of all, let's go with the least.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was Nikita, of course. Although we keep on saying that we should acknowledge anger. We should acknowledge the feeling of annoyance. We should feel everything that is negative to us. But with Nikita, I think that how he acknowledges it and responds to it is not really right. Just
Yeah.
knowing, or maybe he was just thinking that these people have mental health cases and they don't
Yeah.
understand her. That's why he responds to them in lowly, right? He sees them lowly, and that's not really right. So considering that they already have cases, more understanding should be given to them as a
Yeah.
nurse himself. So well, I am not
Yeah,
sure,
that's true.
but maybe some may need to be physical with those who are being violent already, but doing this all the time, especially to those who are not harmful, does not really sit right
Yeah,
with
it's
me. Yeah.
abuse. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there are some cases that you really need to push them down, that you really need to hold them tightly for them to relax. They
Yeah.
have a purpose on why they are doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I know with my knowledge also of handling students who have special needs. Although it has a similar case, but some people just really needs to be physical. But those physical responses have meaning to calm them down, to make them more relaxed. That's why they make pressure on them. But with Nikita, I don't see any purpose on
Yeah.
why she is doing it or he is doing it. So next is the favorite one would be maybe Gromov himself.
Yeah.
I would think that his perspective in life, as I mentioned earlier, is really inspiring. You know, even though he's going through a lot already, we don't know what he is feeling mentally. We don't know what
Yeah.
he's feeling emotionally inside the asylum every day, but he still thinks of positive things, which is really hard for us to do even in our lives, right?
Yeah.
When a lot of things are coming, negative things are happening, problems comes pile by pile on top of each other, we can't really think of what good is here, what's good in it,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of this. It's really hard, but with him it's really inspiring that it's a good reminder for us that we need to really take time to look at um positively, or what's good in it. We need to reflect on it. So those are
Yeah.
the two characters, the least and the best for me. How about you, Noel?
Great, Truth. So just like you, my favorite character, of course, is Mr. Gromov because he still
Mm-hmm.
remained hopeful about
Mm-hmm.
life, even though he is inside a mental health institution. So it's sad. Like many people who are outside, who are not in that situation, like Dr. Ragin, has lost all hope in life and have lost their humanity. Even today,
Mm-hmm.
many people are
Mm-hmm.
like Dr. Ragin. But like you, I do hope I can also have that attitude towards life like
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Gromov has, to always be hopeful and to be hopeful for the future. My
Mm-hmm.
least favorite character, the one I hate the most, is Dr. Kobatov, the one who is the
Uh-huh.
senior doctor of Dr. Ragin. I mean, come on, man. You're supposed to be friends with Dr. Ragin. That's
Yes.
betrayal. Yeah, you're the associate. Did
Mhm.
Dr. Kobatov do that to get the senior position? To
Mhm.
to get rid of Dr. Ragin. I mean, they were supposed to be partner doctors in that
Mhm.
mental health
Mhm.
institution, and yet Dr. Kobatov, unjustly detained, and he fooled Dr. Ragin, right? Because he
Yes,
told Dr.
yes.
Ragin, "Oh, you're just gonna check someone," and then all of a sudden they're just closing the doors and all that. So
Uh-huh.
I really didn't like him. Like, he didn't understand what mental health is, and he betrayed Dr. Ragin. So yeah, but I really
Mhm.
like Mr. Gromov. So
Mhm.
what do you think is the message of this story, Ruth?
Okay, so for the message of the story, I think that we should really perceive or acknowledge our emotions, and um also try to process everything that we have in life, and not all bad things that are happening here doesn't mean there is nothing good in it. So I think that's the main message of this story. Acknowledge your emotions. Try to acknowledge them. Talk to someone when you need to. Because with Gromov and Dr. Ragin was looking for someone who he wants to talk to by himself. So
Yeah,
he was able to see life better when he was able to talk to Gromov.
yeah,
He was really happy. He felt happy. He
yeah.
kept on
That's
going
true.
back to the
That's
asylum,
true.
right?
Yeah, that's true.
To just discuss it. So find
Yeah,
someone to talk to, you're comfortable with, to feel at peace, to release your emotions, to just say what's everything in your mind, to try to process it with them. And lastly is that to never perceive those people who has mental health issues as different, because sometimes it's just we need to be there for them always. We should treat them as who they are, as as a person. We don't need to treat them differently, just like what Nikita did to
yeah,
them,
that's
right?
true.
It's not
Yeah.
that. It's not the right response for them. Although sometimes they really need help from professionals.
Mm,
But as people who are not really experts on this, we just need to be there for them, listen
that's
to
true.
them,
Yeah.
acknowledge them. So that's it for me. How about you, Noel?
Well, just you
Noel.
said it perfectly, Ruth. So I fully agree with you. Like Ruth said, we should be aware of mental health issues. We should always reach out to our
Mhm,
friends, our loved ones, or relatives who have mental health issues. We should
mhm,
never
mhm,
be afraid to open
mhm,
up, and then we should encourage everyone to open up about their sadness, about their negative
mhm.
feelings. We should always reach out, and of course,
Yeah.
we should never stop caring. We should always strive to be human. Let's not lose our humanity. I mean, we know that life is tough, but that doesn't mean that we should lose our humanity in the process.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
we should always be hopeful about the future. We should always we should still have emotions. We should acknowledge our emotions, and let's not let go of the standards of life. Life
mhm,
is supposed to be full of love. Life is supposed to have justice. um, Life is not supposed to be corrupt or mean or cruel. That's
mhm,
not
mhm,
how life should be. Life is supposed to be good, and we should spread love all around. And we should love and expect to be loved. We should spread love
mhm.
all around. So yeah, those are what I think the message of the story is. So thank you everyone for watching our first ever story review. We hope that you can watch more of our story reviews to come. So we hope that you can like and subscribe to this channel for more of our story reviews. So thank you
Mhm.
again. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.